Previously on Accelerate, we reviewed the ultimate Baja vehicle, the Ford Raptor. But today, we've got the 2022 Hyundai Tucson.
Start it up.
So this is a full redesign because if you guys know, the 2021 didn't look anything like this. So we're pretty excited to bring the 2022 because it's fully refreshed, fully redesigned. They got rid of the old motors, they brought new motors back in, and it is actually a little bit bigger now. It's actually 6.5 inches longer. So we're excited to jump into this thing. So today I'm going to talk about the front, I'm going to talk about the side, I'm going to talk about the back, I'm also going to talk about the interior and all the cool safety features this Hyundai Tucson has. So let's get into it. So this Hyundai Tucson, did I say Hyundai? I meant Hyundai because that's how you're supposed to say it. Very heavy draft class. There's a ton of cars in this segment. Now it's going to be a little bit bigger as I mentioned, but think about it. There's a CX-5, there's a RAV4, there's a CR-V, there's the Escape that we did and nobody watched. There's also the Bronco Sport, which people watch. So hopefully you guys will watch one of those two videos and hopefully you watch this one. But this was actually originally a concept. So it's pretty cool that they've actually come really out of their shell to make something that's totally different. A lot of cuts, a lot of angles. And yes, this is the best selling Hyundai in their lineup. So here's a cool part. There's 3 versions you can get in this Tucson. You get the regular engine, you get hybrid, and you get plug-in hybrid. Now in Canada we have 5 versions. In the US you've got 4 versions and then the hybrids are kind of separate on their own. Kind of interesting concept of how you guys separate it up. But let's talk about the front here. Take a look at these headlight DRL designs. These are the biggest DRLs. I remember when Audi came out with their DRLs, these little lights here. It was like a big deal. They had to go through all this like regulation. How does this pass regulation? This thing is crazy. That's a ton of daytime running lights. They might as well be the normal lights. Cool design. Really stepping out of their shell, I would say. But they've been doing that for the last couple of years. We really love Kia, Hyundai, Genesis product because they're just kind of out there. They give you all the safety tech, which I'll get into. Kind of cool, funky designs. Kind of similar to the Santa Cruz we did. The lights are in a little bit different positions here. Now check out those headlights. That is where the headlight comes off, and look where the high beam is. Directly underneath it where the fog lights would theoretically go. Now it's sort of unique designs. Hyundai does that because if you also look at the taillights in the back, the signals are really low, and we'll get in that in a minute. But what do you guys think about this front end? This is the ultimate, this is the most expensive one you can buy, so it's all blacked out. There's no chrome, it's got this lower painted sill on the bottom that's painted in silver. Looks stainless steel, but no, it's painted in silver. And moving up from there, you can see it has this dark chrome piece that goes all the way across. It sort of splits the bumper in two. As you can see, it's got a different sort of mesh that it does on the bottom that it does on the top. It also does have the camera here, and of course a whole bunch of safety features like lane assist, lane keep, forward collision, just a ton of stuff. It also got something unique called highway curve assist. Basically, when you're coming to a curve, it slows you down, letting you know that, hey, there's a curve on the highway. Haha, you thought we forgot about that. No, we didn't. We need your love, boys. We need your love. We need all the love we can get. You see, I got love. I got my face all done just for you guys. If you guys noticed that or not, but you know, I got something called micro needling. My wife told me I had to get it because I had acne from growing up. So if you guys had acne from growing up, subscribe, because you know there's a lot of us out there. Now, speaking of engines, there's 2 you can get. A 1.6 liter, which has the hybrid version. You can get the regular hybrid, or you can get the plug-in hybrid. This thing is regular hybrid. You can also get the 2.5 liter engine. Now, the 2.5 liter engine makes more power than the biggest motor you can get on the last generation, which is pretty cool. So while I ramble on the engine specs, you can take a look at this beautiful plastic piece that says hybrid. Now the 2.5 liter, which is your base engine, has an 8-speed transmission and it makes 187 horsepower and 178 pound-feet of torque. And the other 2 versions are the hybrid, which is what this one is. Now, if you don't know the difference between a hybrid and a plug-in hybrid, well, your wallet will, because it's $4,600 more for the plug-in hybrid. Now the main hybrid has a 1.6 turbocharged hybrid engine that has 227 horsepower and 258 pound-feet of torque. Pretty much the same as an Audi Q5. Toe for toe, not a new one, but one of the older ones. A 227 horsepower and 258 pound-feet of torque is Audi at its finest. But if you get the plug-in hybrid version, which means you can plug it in and get free power from your house, you get a 66.9 kilowatt electric motor and 13.8 kilowatt lithium-ion battery that makes 261 horsepower and 258 pound-feet of torque. Now, if that doesn't make any sense to you, It's because you need to figure out what's best for you. If you drive in the city, obviously a hybrid does make a lot of sense because it's pretty much one of those concepts where you get more mileage in the city than you do on the highway. Pretty much the opposite of every other car out there. So you need to ask yourself, how are you driving? If you're driving in the city, check the hybrid. So you'd like to know, in Canada, you can't get the hybrid in one of the lower models. You have to get the top tier model to get the hybrid. But the one good thing is you don't get CVT. You see, when you get the bottom engine, whether you buy it in Canada or the US, you don't get CVT. You actually get an 8-speed transmission. Pretty cool. You get a 6-speed when you buy the hybrid. And yes, the no CVT boys are jumping for joy. You can get them in all-wheel drive and front-wheel drive. Now let's check out the side. So moving along the side here, on camera, it looks very jagged, a lot of lines, a lot of cuts. When I physically look at it like this, yes, there's quite a few, but on camera and on pictures I've seen, it looks very futuristic and a ton of cuts and lines, but in person, it's not actually that bad. Now, anyway, starting with the front here, you can get 3 different type of wheel size options. You can get 17s, 18s, and then 19s, depending on what package you get. So let's check inner fender liners, and as expected, at this price point, it is plastic. It is not carpeted. They're not really after having the quietest ride. At this price point, again, this is called a CUV. And if you don't believe me, I took this out so you guys can see it. It says, let me open this up, CUV right there. I don't know why they make these crazy names. It's either like a mid-size SUV or it's what they call a compact size SUV. But in my mind, it's quite large over here because it has gained, as I mentioned, 6.1 inches in terms of its predecessor. So that's pretty big because now it's a mid-size in my mind and not a baby one. Now, let's talk about these mirrors. Now, these mirrors do have signal repeaters on them. They are heated. And yeah, that's kind of fancy. People say, I have to have signal repeaters. Well, now you have it on your Hyundai Tucson. It also does have black roof rails, very similar to an Audi Q5. They pretty much look exactly the same. Now let's take a look at one thing that's important, and that is your phone. Because when you have your phone, you can connect to the Hyundai app, and you can select something called diffuse. So if the car's really hot inside, you hit the diffuse button, and then the car will suck all the heat out of it and give you air conditioning. You can obviously start it. You can do all kinds of stuff with your phone nowadays, but I thought the diffuse option was pretty cool, that you could take the heat out of it and give yourself air conditioning. So design-wise, there are some unique features to this. I'm seeing a lot of these SUV type RAV4 to have this sort of design to go up and down, but this is kind of unique. It kind of flows this way, and it's got this weird looking cut over here. And as you can see, it's got what simulates sort of air vents that flows through, and it sort of follows all the way through the back here. You've got those air vents that follow through up here, like it's just pulling the air back. So that's kind of where they got the concept. And again, they've got it over here. So kind of unique stuff. Fast SUVs seem to have this little lip. Now this has got sort of a half lip and it doesn't continue all the way down. Maybe because it's a half fast SUV. Because the people that bought or wanted to buy the N line were hoping, the N version essentially, were hoping to get some power differences. Now unfortunately they don't get it. They get 3 different versions as I mentioned in terms of powertrain, but they get an N line. So N line is all aesthetic. So you pretty this thing up with the N line, and here's a picture of it. So for all the performance junkies, you can't get anything more powerful than the plug-in hybrid. But what you can get is you get good gas mileage. You see, this is not the plug-in hybrid, this is the regular hybrid. And check that number out. That is 44 miles per gallon right here on this piece of paper. Something interesting you'd like to know, performance junkies, is the back wheels get more power when you come out of a corner with the hybrid. You see, it transfers the power to the back. Yes, the all-wheel drive system does transfer power to the back. It gives you about 50-50 split ratio when you're in sport mode, about 70-30 when you're in the normal mode, and about 100% of the front wheels when you're in like the eco mode of sorts. But it's interesting to know that only on the hybrid motors that you actually get the power transfer to the back, specifically for corners. Now let's check out the back. Hyundai Tucson. Now, let's talk about the inner fender liners. They are carpeted, so yes, we have some sort of insulation on this thing, but let's talk about the back. It gives me from here like 1997, 2001 Lexus RX 300 vibes. Just got that look to it. Now, obviously people are gonna say, yes, this is sort of Mustang-ish, but check out this long LED bar that goes all across it. I do like it. It really widens the back of this thing. It's really high. That's what I've noticed. I know it's not a really big SUV, but it sits pretty high. Like for some reason, I expect it to be a little bit lower. But the thing that pisses a lot of people off is the fact that the indicators are right here. And that is because they are low. So in today's world, people like to tailgate apparently, and if you tailgate right behind, you actually won't see them trying to make a left or a right. So if you drive like a normal human being, they're perfect. If you like to stick to people's booty, well, hey, that's a problem. Now, if I hold this key and I'm around it within 3 feet and the car is locked, which it's not currently locked, if the car is locked and I'm within 3 feet, after 3 seconds, this trunk will open because it knows that my hands are full and I need to get to the trunk. So let's open up this power adjustable trunk, hit the button, there we go. She makes some beeping noises, she opens up, and I can adjust the height of this trunk by simply pressing this button. If I hold this button down and I hold it, there we go, it's set, and then now it'll close and open right to this specific spot. Now, also something interesting is it does have a rear camera. It does have surround view, so there's cameras on the mirrors as well, but it's kind of nice because the quality is really good, and I'll show you guys inside. Now, on the bottom here, you will see this has this plastic rear valance. It is sort of unique that it's, should I say unique? It's just not a good look. I prefer to have actually a matching color to the back bumper. This sort of like silvery gray bump doesn't match anything in the back. I prefer to actually be a color that matches the rest of the car. Along with this Hyundai badge, that's sort of all glass. It looks like it's protruding out, but it's actually hidden underneath the glass, and it is plastic. And yeah, that's my only complaint. But I do have something good to say. It does have the best placement of a rear wiper. It's hiding underneath there like all good SUVs should have. So thank you, Hyundai, for hiding it up there. Now let's check the trunk out. So how much room do we actually have in this Hyundai Tucson? We've got 38 inches as far as depth. As far as width, it looks like just about 44 inches. And as far as height, important for people to know because people like to transport all their furniture and flowers and plants. You've got 30 inches in terms of height. Now, it's easy to put the seats down. There are handles on both sides. I can pull it. That 40 goes down, and I pull it this side, and I got 60. So 60-40 split. I do have a 12-volt adapter that I can just plug in here, a Sega lighter, and 4 tie downs. One here, one there, and obviously the other 2 sides. But one of the complaints that I saw online is the fact this doesn't have a spare tire. It has a tire mobility kit, and one of the main reasons is that most people actually live close to other humans. So if you live near other humans, you don't really need a spare tire because at the end of the day, most people aren't going to do it themselves anyways. So let's find out why people buy the Tucson. Why is it so popular? Let's take a look at the door for a second. So let's just pick on quality on the outside. Sounds like pretty economy, nothing luxury about it, but when I'm inside, more solid. It feels more, not a lot of weight to the door, but it feels solid when I close it, which is nice to have. So let's talk about a few things. One is the seating. You see, let's talk about Audi Q3 because previous gen, the back seats didn't recline. But this thing, check out the recline. Yeah, from here all the way back. Really, really nice. At this price point, really nice to have this reclining seats. It keeps the kids happy. But there's something important to note. It's got something called Blue Link services. So if you leave your car unlocked, it'll actually let you know. It'll even call you. It's that advanced. It'll call you to tell you your car is unlocked. Interesting for people in the back. So rear seats, leaving the kids in the back or pets in the back. It's obviously happened before. Not a good thing to happen, but it has happened in the past. And what they've actually done is they put ultrasonic sensors in the seats. You see, all models, except for the top one, has, if you have something in the back, it says, hey, check your back seats in the cluster. Well, what this one, because it's the top model, has, when you sit in the back seats and you leave and you lock the door, it'll realize, hey, there's still somebody in the back seat. It'll actually warn you when you get out, but it'll actually honk the horn and alert people around the car that something is in the back seats or somebody is in the back seats. And for those in the back seats, the kids obviously want to have USB and USB-Cs. This one has 2 USBs. It actually has vents in the back, which is pretty impressive. You believe it or not all cars have actual vents in the back seats. As far as comfort goes in the back seats, it's decent. I mean, it's good enough for kids. Legroom is good. Height, I do have a panoramic sunroof all the way back here, not just halfway, it's all the way back. And it's decent size. I wouldn't say it's huge, but it's a good size. It fills most of the cabin up. This one does have heated seats on my side and heated seats on this side. Obviously, this price point, you'll never get heated seats in the middle, unless maybe you're buying a Tesla. But hey, my Tesla has so many quality issues. Ask Ian, he'll tell you. Front seat of the Hyundai Tucson. Let's close this door and listen to the quality. Let's listen to it inside. It feels better on the front door than the back, and makes me feel like I'm in a solid car. Now let's start off with the looks of it and the overall feel. It's got this circular curvature cockpit feel. Everything's sort of rounded. Even the dash has like this rounded feel. And you can see that with the doors. You have this piano black trim that runs all the way across here. and then follows through on the other side of the door. Now you do have memory seats here. You've got 1, 2, and how you set your memory seats. You do have automatic windows in the front, not in the back, and of course your mirror adjustment. And on here you have your hold, so you can actually open the trunk and close the trunk with the button here. The steering and the dash is pretty much the same as the Santa Cruz. There's no difference from what I can see at first glance, but the difference here is this center console. I really like the way this looks. Kind of looks like a cartoon where I have my arm in this crazy park, reverse, neutral, drive, parking brake, but I also have an extra button. It says drive and terrain. So when I hit the drive button, it shows me right there that I have eco, sport, and smart. And when I hit the terrain button, it shows me right there that I have snow, mud, and sand, and I can simply just toggle it up and down with this. I really like how this is done. I know that people are gonna hate on the fact this is piano black, it'll get scratched up, but really, is this gonna get scratched up here? Maybe not. Now, it does have your ventilated and heated seats right here by pushing these buttons, as you can see. 3 increments of each on either side. It does have your heated steering wheel. It does have hill descent, your camera, and then your surround view camera. When I hit the button, this is what you will see, nice and clear, and that camera back there will get it. And moving down here, it does have wireless charging, so I can put my phone right here. It'll wirelessly charge. A light there will tell you, as well as 2 USBs and a cigarette plug. As far as the center console goes, it's just a normal, regular center console, nothing fancy to see. It feels kind of good. It does have some padding on both sides where my elbows go, so I feel sort of confident. It also does have this storage compartment here on both sides, right here and on my side as well. It is illuminated, and that is where your 10 ambient lighting colors change right there. Makes it feel all fancy. It's not crazy. It doesn't show up anywhere else on the dash. It's just kind of hidden down there with the ambient lights. So if you take a look at the center display here, you will see that there are no hard buttons. There's no knobs. It's all touch. So there's volume. So people don't really always like the fact you got to press to turn the volume up, but that's okay because that's only for the passenger, and we don't care about them. We care about the driver, and the driver has it on the steering wheel, so let's not make a big fuss about that. Now again, this is very similar to Santa Cruz. I was a bit fussy about it, but now that I've driven this car for a few days, I kind of get it. It's all on the steering wheel. I don't really care about the passenger. They've got their buttons. They've got the volume minus, volume plus, the map, the nav. They're obviously their favorites button, and then obviously your seek, track, radio, media setup. Pretty straightforward stuff, but underneath that is your HVAC controls. This does have 2-zone climate controls, left and right, obviously automatic. And then I can actually choose something unique called the diffuse, which I was telling you guys earlier about, which you can set up from your app. Hit the button, it takes all the heat away from the car and adds air conditioning. But let's talk about the screen itself. Now this is a 10.25-inch screen, which doesn't have wireless CarPlay. If you get the 8-inch screen, you get wireless CarPlay. It also has the same 10.2-inch screen on the driver display, but we'll get into that in a minute. So we'll talk about the screen itself. This is the different modes I have on the rear view camera. So it has the overhead, what they call surround view. And then obviously I can pick, like all Kia Hyundai products, I can dig pretty deep in how the menus are set up. So let's start at the top here with the screen. So like all other models, this is a touch screen. So you simply swipe your hand over there, and the first one is hybrid. So when I hit hybrid, it's really cool. It has a really cool display. It's cooler in the driver part, but this sort of shows the people in the car how the battery and how the engine is working and what is working on and what is working off. Sort of a pretty weak wheel if you ask me. I changed up and put some 22s on that bad boy. Let's get back out of that. You've got your map, your navigation menu, pretty straightforward stuff. We really like to dig into stuff that's interesting, which is basically in the setup or the car. So let's hit up setup and see what we can find that's interesting. So let's hit vehicle. Now my favorite part is cluster. In cluster, you can select different themes. You've got A, B, C, and then of course my favorite, cube. Check how cool cube looks like. Now moving along here, you'll see you can adjust a few other things, especially when it comes to kids and access. So here you can select your heated and ventilated features, your easy access, and of course your rear seat heating control. Wow, that was a tongue twister. Next up is ambient light. As I mentioned, you've got 10 different displays where I can adjust color, brightness, that kind of thing. But let you guys dig into that once you buy one. Now next up is door, where I can set my lock, auto lock, and then 2-press unlock, and then my speed of my tailgate. Kind of interesting, cool features to actually have where you can select. At this price point, it's not that easy to find vehicles out there with all this sort of customization. So anyways, that's how this little setup works. Now, this is the 1.6 liter engine, really small. I don't know if you guys remember it, 1998 Honda Civic, tiny little motor, bulletproof, never breaks. Yes, we got a 1.6 liter engine with a 6-speed gearbox. So you got 2 bulletproof items merged together. Then you put this hybrid in there, you put the battery part in there, and it's cool because now I'm psychologically thinking I gotta save fuel because I can see these battery plates that are illuminate blue when they're filled up and obviously gray when they're depleted. So I know that I'm trying to save as much fuel as I can because this thing averages, right as we speak, 6 liters per 100 kilometers, which is peanuts. It's really quiet in here, and considering it's only single pane windows and it's got plastic inner fender liners, it is quieter than I expected. There's not a lot of road noise, just solid feel. It's funny because since we've been driving the Tesla now, my wife says, can't really notice a difference in all these cars, and that's the natural progression of how good cars have become. Really solid, and a $43,000 price point with all this tech, and as I mentioned, like automatic braking, keeping your lane, backup braking for it's got all the toys you want. Try to open your door, there's a car coming, it lets you know, it gives you all that stuff. And again, the tech inside here is amazing. For $43,000 Canadian, that is a deal. They're gonna sell a lot of these things. And I'm interested to drive the Kia Sportage, because it's obviously gonna be similar to this, and that's gonna be next year. The Kia Sportage reviewed last time was the old model, similar to what this was in 2021. But man, this is a good deal. They're gonna sell a ton of them. Anybody that owns a Hyundai dealership now is killing it. Cash money. Pretty cool graphics here. You see the battery is putting power to the electric motor and it's feeding the wheels. Now I'll be on the gas again, and now the motor's kicking in, and it's going different ways. It's trying to figure out the best way to make all these parts work together, and it shows you on display, so it keeps the people engaged, or the drivers engaged, or even the passengers, I guess, for that matter, engaged. There's 2 screens, one right here that shows you, and then another one that shows you over here. This one's a little bit plain and basic. This one's here a lot more fancy. Overall, it's a great package. Besides the fact you got to press for this volume button for the passenger to do, kind of annoying. I've heard lots of complaints about it. For me, as I mentioned, the steering wheel is easy enough to turn the volume up and down. Also, it's hard to tell if this is an all-wheel drive or not. The only way I actually knew this is by sticking my head underneath the car in the back to see the axles to know that this was all-wheel drive. This could be front-wheel drive as well, it's just no badging. And when I indicate, I got my beautiful camera right there showing me that I don't even have to use the mirrors because I have it right on the display. I've got a right camera and a left camera, or a right camera and a left camera. That shows me exactly what the blind spot looks like. I don't have to actually use my mirrors anymore. I saw this originally actually on a Honda CR-V, and I was really, really impressed. I thought that was the coolest thing, to actually see it over there. And now that I'm seeing it more and more, and pretty much on all Kia Hyundai models, it's awesome to see right there, my blind spot monitoring. Not much more positivity I can put out for the 2022 Tucson. There's a ton of good things here. Obviously, a lot of good positive press out there on it, and I totally understand why. Yeah, they're gonna sell a ton of these, and hey, hope you like this video.